Hello and welcome. I am Rajiv Gupta, a certified trainer and a senior technician at PCMacPlus.com. I am going to review the part 1 of hard drive interfaces, a subsection of A Plus certification domain 1 hardware section 1.2. Let's discuss the hard drive interfaces. Hard drives have different ways to interface with the computer. Some standards compete with others, and each type of interface standard has evolved over time, which can make for a confusing mess of standards. The three current methods used by internal hard drives are parallel ATA, PATA as is pronounced, serial ATA, SATA, and SCSI, SCSI. External hard drives can connect to a computer by way of external SATA, SCSI, FireWire, USB, or a variation of SCSI called fiber channel. Currently, the most popular solutions for external hard drives are USB and FireWire. By far, the most popular standards for internal drives have been ATA standards, so we begin there. The ATA interface standards define how hard drives and other drives such as CD, DVD, tapes, Blu-ray drives and interface with the computer. The standards define data speeds and transfer methods between the drive controller, the BIOS, the chipset on the motherboard, and the operating system. The standards also define the type of cables and connectors used by the drive and the motherboard or expansion cards. The ATA standards can be categorized into two groups, PATA and SATA. PATA, pronounced as PATA, is the older and slower standard that has seen many changes. SATA, which is SATA, SATA, pronounced as SATA, is the faster and newer standard which so far has had only 3 revisions. SATA is slowly replacing PATA, but you need to know how to support both. In fact, many motherboards sold today will have a mix of SATA and PATA connectors on the same board. In this photograph, you can see the PATA connections. Parallel ATA or EIDE drive standards. Parallel ATA, also called the EIDE Enhanced IDE standard, or more closely the IDE Integrated Drive Electronics standard, allows for 1 or 2 IDE connectors on a motherboard, each using a 40-pin data cable. These ribbon cables can accommodate 1 or 2 drives. All PATA standards since ATA2 support this configuration. Using this standard, up to 4 parallel ATA devices can connect to a motherboard using 2 data cables. Parallel ATA or EIDE applies to other drives besides hard drives, including CD drives, DVD drives, tape drives, and so forth. An EIDE, such as a CD or drive, must follow the ATAPI, which is Advanced Technology Attachment Packet Interface standard, in order to connect to a system using an IDE connector. Under parallel ATA, 2 types of ribbon cables are used. The older cable has 40 pins and 40 wires. The 80 conductor IDE cables has 40 pins and 80 wires. 40 wires are used for communication and data, and additional 40 ground wires reduce crosstalk on the cable. For maximum performance, an 80 conductor IDE cable is required by ATA 66 and above. The maximum recommended length of both cables is 18 inches, although it is possible to purchase 24-inch cables. A ribbon cable usually comes bundled with the motherboard that has PATA connector. Because ribbon cables can obstruct airflow inside a computer case, you can purchase a smaller, round PATA cable that is less obstructive to the airflow inside the case. One of the most important terms that we need to know is called SMART, S-M-A-R-T, Self-Monitoring Analysis and Reporting Technology, which is a system BIOS feature that monitors hard drive performance, disk spin-up time, temperature, distance between the head and the disk, and other mechanical activities of the drive in order to predict when the drive is likely to fail. If SMART suspects a drive failure is about to happen, it displays a warning message. SMART can be enabled and disabled in BIOS setup. Another term that you should know as a technician is IDE, which means Integrated Drive Electronics or Integrated Device Electronics. A hard drive uses one of two methods to transfer data between the hard drive and memory. You must know these two methods for your exam. The first one is called DMA, Direct Memory Access, which is a transfer mode. It transfers data directly from the drive to memory without involving the CPU. The second transfer mode you need to know is called PIO, Programmed Input and Output. This involves the CPU and is slower than DMA mode. There are 5 PIO modes used by hard drives, from the slowest PIO mode 0 to the fastest PIO mode 4, and 7 DMA modes from the slowest DMA mode 0 to the fastest DMA mode 6. All motherboards today support Ultra DMA, which means that data is transferred twice for each clock beat, at the beginning and again at the end. Another term that we need to know for the exam is called independent device timing. There are different hard drive standards, each running at different speeds. If two hard drives share the same parallel ATA cable but use different standards, both drives will run at the speed of lower drive unless the motherboard chipset controlling the ATA connections support a feature called independent device timing. Most chipsets today support this feature, and with it, the two drives can run at different speeds as long as the motherboard supports those speeds. Serial ATA standards. A consortium of manufacturers called the Serial ATA International Organization and led by Intel developed the Serial ATA standards. These standards also have the oversight of T13 committee. SATA uses a serial data path rather than traditional parallel path. Essentially, the difference between the two is that data is placed on a serial cable one bit following the next, but with parallel cabling, all data in a byte is placed on the cable at one time. Serial ATA interfaces are much faster than PATA interfaces and are used by all types of drive, including hard drives, CDs, DVDs, Blu-ray, tape drives. A motherboard can have 2, 4, 6, or more SATA connectors, which are much easier to configure and use than PATA connectors. SATA supports hot swapping, also called hot plugging. With hot swapping, you can connect and disconnect a drive while the system is running. A SATA drive connects to one SATA connector on the motherboard by the way of SATA data cable. An internal SATA data cable can be up to 1 meter in length, has 7 pins, and is much narrower compared to the 40-pin parallel IDE cable. The thin cables don't hinder airflow inside a case as much as wide parallel cables do. In addition to internal SATA connectors, the motherboard or an expansion card can provide external SATA ports for external drives. External SATA is up to 6 times faster than USB or FireWire. External SATA drives use a special shielded serial cable up to 2 meters long. When purchasing a SATA hard drive, keep in mind that the SATA standards for the drive and the motherboard need to match. If either the drive or the motherboard use a slower SATA standard than the other device, the system will run at the slower speed. As you can see in this picture, there's a cable that is connected and it is going on to the hard drive, and it's using simply one connection and one connection at the hard drive. These red cables are the SATA cables. The black cables here are the external SATA cables. These connectors are the external SATA ports on the back of the computer. This is your CD-ROM, and your SATA connector and your SATA power connector is right here. This concludes the part 1 of hard drive interfaces. Thank you for watching A+ Certification 2009 review. Please recommend PC Mac Plus on YouTube to your colleagues and friends. And don't forget to post comments. Thank you.